The Azure Vault is one of the new dungeons released with the expansion Dragonflight. While not as lore-rich as the other dungeons, this is still a great moment to cover how this fits into the greater story as a whole, and understand more about one of the most beloved blue dragons of all time, Sindragosa. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come, take a seat by the fire. The dungeon entrance is located deep beneath the frozen archives within the Azure span. Originally created by Malygos for his prime mate Sindragosa as a storage and experimentation facility for some of the more interesting or unique magical items found throughout Azeroth. The vault has been dormant for so long, it might as well be a tomb, and a state of disrepair means the more dangerous items could be set loose at any moment. A group of trusted adventurers are called upon to lend their aid once again, restoring order to this ancient place. The first steps tread in this vault for what seems like an eternity show just how much chaos has been unleashed. Arcane magic is surging and swirling, and even elementals born from the self-same crystallized essence are rampaging. They must be quelled. But rather quickly, the first real threat to the archives is sighted. A giant lumbering mound of rock and vine, infused with the essentia of arcane power, has grown here. Leymore was nothing more than a seedling once, growing in Sindragosa's garden. It has since drunk deep of the magics that permeate this place, and just like a weed, it threatens to choke everything else. After that pruning, our adventurers press on. More dangers await deeper still within these halls. And speaking of danger, an unlikely foe bars our party's path. Azureblade was once the head of security, although now it seems they are not protecting the artifacts. Instead, they have laid claim to them and will guard their treasure hoard to the bitter end. When Tia activated the island's defences and placed it into stasis, the vault was to be evacuated and sealed. However, Azureblade chose duty over their own safety and stayed behind. But the ages that passed were not kind to a mind locked away in this place. As their duty gave way to madness, and the process of extending their own life through the use of the artifacts, they became a danger that cannot be allowed to roam free. Sindragosa stored more than dangerous artifacts here, in these winding vaults, and a member of the Sundered flame has come to seek them out by any means necessary. The Sundered flame are a faction of the newly awoken Drakthea that feel betrayed and abandoned by the Flights. They will hear no more lies, and are relentless in their search for the truth of their origins. Tarlesh Greywing is one such member. He is sure there is incriminating evidence against the Blue Flight here, and as soon as he sees our adventurers, he only sees the Blue Flight's pawns come to stop him. His anger quickly overwhelms him, and without thinking of the consequences, he attacks. No pause, no rest. For as soon as one battle is won, another presents itself. But as a humongous, ancient dragon with crystal shards protruding from its body lumbers into view, have our adventurers met their match? Umberskull was once a member of the Blue Flight, and the Azure Brood were never content with just hoarding magic. They were endlessly curious, and would experiment as often as they could. However, you cannot make an omelette without breaking a few eggs, and their experiments would often go awry. Umberskull was one of these unfortunate accidents. He dabbled too far into the arcane magics, and was brought here while his fellow dragons researched a cure. However, the vault was sealed long ago, and the research all but forgotten. His hunger now for more magic will not be sated, and he must be stopped. Well, that was some adventure. But this is a perfect time to remind ourselves why the Blue Flight builds so many of these vaults in the first place. When each of the 5 aspects were first transformed and charged by the Keepers to protect Azeroth, each was made to swear a specific oath. The Blue Dragon's oath was to protect the ley lines and safeguard all arcane magic within Azeroth. None were more committed in this endeavour than Sindragosa. As one of the oldest and most trusted members of the Blue Flight, this vault must hold many wonders that we have only just begun to uncover, considering the Nexus Vault held such extreme powerful items such as Alaneth or Light's Wrath. The major lore point we have not discussed yet actually involves the quests that can be completed leading up to the dungeon itself. We actually get to talk to Sindragosa in visage form. Yes, the same Sindragosa that is meant to be dead. Before I explain how, let's go over what happened to the Frost Queen. Sindragosa was, as I mentioned, the prime consort of the blue aspect Malygos, and fought valiantly by his side in the War of the Ancients. However, when Neltharion, or Deathwing as he is better known, betrayed the other flights, she was brutally murdered, and her body strewn across the icy wastes of Northrend. Her torment would not end there, however, and she would later be raised into undeath as a frostworm broodmother for the Lich King himself. The Sindragosa that we get to speak to now is not really her, but rather a simulacra. That is a snapshot of her memories, knowledge, and feelings over a millennia ago. Think of a mage's mirror image that has lasted for a really, really long time. Some impressive spellcraft if you ask me. Our theory on how this plays into the greater narrative is not that she is going to be somehow resurrected, but more that in terms of the dragon timeline, Kalagos, the current leader, is still very young. There is much knowledge from the ancient times still not revealed to him, and Malygos is not around to give those answers. She is most likely a great way to answer some much needed questions, especially those about the Blue Flight's true purpose, considering she is as old as dirt, while also simultaneously giving us, as the players, some insight as to how she was before her systematic abuse at the hands of Arthas. Our next theory takes us away slightly from focusing on the Blue Flight and back to the Sundered Flame. These Drakthea are clearly being set up into an antagonistic position, and as we will see in our future video, even play a role in the story of the first raid, the Vault of the Incarnate. As we discussed in our recent video, when we covered the hidden lawbooks of Uldaman, which I have linked in the top right and the description, we believe we are on the precipice of meeting Titan Forged that rebelled against their creators. If the Sundered Flame keeps digging into their origins, it will lead them exactly to the same place. It is entirely possible that these Drakthea are the very catalyst for us travelling to Avaloren. That's our thoughts and theories for now, and honestly, each and every dungeon in Dragonflight is filled with lore. It feels like Legion all over again, which has us here at the campfire very excited. I can't wait to hear everyone's thoughts on the Azure Vault, and don't forget to come back anytime.